So picture this, right? You're a kid again, and in being a kid again, you don't have any responsibility, right? You're happy, relatively speaking. You lack a lot of responsibility. You're relatively unengaged with a lot of the tribulations of what's going on in the world and society more generally or more broadly, let alone the world. As a kid, you're mostly focused on, you and your family, maybe your friends, and just trying to do stuff that makes you feel happy or, it's enjoyable or whatever the case may be. You age, and in aging, you find that you're not as happy. There's a lot of reasons for that. The things that you enjoyed doing as a kid that you had a lot more time to do, you don't have as much time to do. You're less available of which to spend time with your friends or spend time with your family in the way that you did when you were younger. And now you have to balance all of that with bills and just a lot of other things that are suddenly expected of you now that you're an adult. As far as you have bills. You have to survive. And the only way to survive is to have an income. And for the most part, or at least for the vast majority of people, in order to have that income, you have to work. You have to have a job. And without a job, you won't be able to survive, or you're going to ask your friends and your family and these people that you care about for assistance in helping you survive, which can put a strain on your relationships with your friends and family, because now you're asking for resources that they may need for their own survival, or they may want so they can do the things they want to do in their life. And now you're essentially asking for that from them, to put the things that they want to do on hold, or asking that they essentially go with less so that way they can support you. And so then there's some inherent guilt to that. You're guilty, you're shameful that you're having to ask these people you care about for assistance. And so ultimately, you're going to work. You're going to find a job or find the means of which to have an income, so that way you can, survive on your own without the needs of other people and be independent. Although that means at the end of the day, you may move out. You may have to get your own car, have your own car insurance. You're going to have to buy your own groceries, have your own, heating and electric bill, or water bill, internet bill. So now all of those things that were taken care of prior for your phone bill, all of these different bills that prior would have been taken care of by your parents or guardians or whomever the case may be, you've now essentially had to take on, because that's the expectation of your independence, is that you must take on all these same things that you had as a kid and do it by yourself. And you have to have an income to facilitate all of those things, to have the same standard of living that you did. And you're unhappy now. You're unhappy now with the stress that comes from that. The frustration that like life shouldn't be this cumbersome, shouldn't be this complicated. You should be able to survive and be independent without having to essentially forego so much of your time and ultimately selling a large portion of your soul to other entities that you really don't have much loyalty to, or you really don't have much care for, other than they give you a paycheck for the work that you do. And so all of this just kind of coalesces into just being frustrated and miserable that the world should be different. Things should be different. I should be able to live independently, you say to yourself, without having to use the majority of my time simply to survive. And you recognize that the systems that are in place have determined that this is the only way to make this work. Although that's not true. You see in many circumstances where there is significant amounts of waste in our world. Significant amounts of energy that are put towards things that are otherwise not substantial and not worthwhile in any sort of way. And in recognizing that, this only creates more frustration, makes you angry that we are, as a people, as a species, as societies, as a world, far more focused on the wrong things. We're focused on, belittling one another and shaming one another and taking things away from each other rather than promoting the fact that we all share a lot of the same core values and we all ultimately want to survive in this world with relative comfort and relative ease. And that at the end of the day, we are far more focused on the us versus them and the haves and the have-nots and how certain people in these societies will hoard assets, hoard wealth, hoard resources, ultimately meaning that others go without, whilst also not recognizing the vast amount of fortune that they have and the need to relinquish that to others that have nothing. And so you think about all these things and you recognize all of this and you understand that our societies are not built for like I would say a net positive, joyful world. Our societies do not care about us as individuals and how we feel. Our societies simply determine that you must work or you will die. And because of that, it occurs to you that there needs to be a solution. There are better ways to do this that we must not have just come full circle on and found the ways of which to make happen. But they are there, and we're just not looking at them. because we are so frustrated, because we are so divided, because our time and our energy is being put towards all of these other means that are ultimately a waste of our time, a waste of our energy, and not fruitful at the end of the day. Because we are far more focused on sustaining these unsustainable and frustrating systems, we are not allowing ourselves to look more broadly at how to make more joyful societies, more sustainable societies. And because of that, it clicks that something needs to be done. Things need to be done differently. And then you start talking. You start talking to others. You start sharing the idea that the world could be different and things could be different, and that there is a better way than the way that we're doing things, and that you just need people to get on board. You just need others to listen to you, to understand that what we are doing to ourselves is creating our own misery, and that there are better ways to do this. We just have to look for them. And that brings you hope. That makes you inspired to believe that there is something better beyond this. And it gives you something to look forward to and aspire to. And so you share that, and you share that with your friends, and you share that with those around you, and you hope that they listen and they want the same things. They see what you're saying, they understand what you're saying, but they're skeptical. And so it's your job to work with their skepticism and make them believe that it's possible. And that's your goal, is to make others believe that there is a better world out there. It is possible, and we can achieve it.